activity in the afternoon. We're just going to finish our last session of the morning. I'm sorry we're going a little bit into lunch. I know we're all getting hungry, but we wanted to get this session completed so you could think about it a little bit over lunch as we think about moving into the formation of our projects this afternoon. So Charlie and I are going to present a little bit. I'm back now on the opening slide deck from this morning. Maybe if I ask one of my helpers to repost that in the general channel so you can follow along. I know the screen is a little dark. But I wanted to start by, this is some of the content that's in the video that I shared when I introduced projects to you on Slack a few weeks ago. We started telling you a little story of this database you just learned about. In 2017, HP was in a group project at the GeoHack. At the time, we were doing broad sessions on anything geospatial. And HP can tell you more of the story, but I saw them just doing some work on learning about databases in general and how it applied to the SnowEx mission. They didn't write a lot of code. They didn't spend a lot of time on GitHub. They did some research. They talked about things. They laid a bit of a framework for what might come next. Here we are in 2022, and we're teaching you about this database that's been built by amazing developers, and hopefully we continue to build that. That's the view that I take. This long view of how we can get a kernel of an idea started here, get the right people involved, and it continues to build over time in this open source kind of fashion. So let me just give you the 101 quick overview of projects, and then we'll do a little bit of pitching and then head to lunch. So really, in terms of topics to work on in a Hack Week project, the overall purpose, it's gaining experience, this immersive piece that I talked about at the beginning, really learning about what it means to work in teams, deepening your learning on a specific topic, meeting some new people in the process, building software together, and hopefully having a lot of fun. That's sort of, in my view, some of the funnest parts of these events. Over time, we started to get a little bit more clear on the different roles. And this is part of that scaffolding that I talked about, a little bit of lightweight, kind of like who's doing what in the project team that can help us to really spin up quickly, because we only have a few days to get things done. And it's not a sense of urgency, but it's like the more that we can clarify who's doing what, then the more efficient we can be and the more likely that we're going to get to everyone getting what they want out of the project time. So we define a project lead. That's usually the person who has pitched the idea. Somebody who probably has access to data sets that you might be working with. And that person's role is to get to know everyone on the team, help people connect to the data, get just a sense of what the overall idea is all about. We're defining a role. We're shaping this role a little more clearly this year, and we really welcome your feedback in developing this out. And we're building, and Eli's going to share more on this, and Charlie as well, about how we can shape this facilitator roles. That is, the role of this person is to really help people get clear on the scoping and the shaping of the work, coordinate with the project leader, and bring a little bit of structure to what is a really messy process at the beginning of all this. And again, making sure that each individual gets to contribute and take away what they came here for. We also define a data science helper. Actually, that's somebody maybe from the eScience group or anyone in the team who has a little more expertise on, say, GitHub or some of the more technical questions. Again, this person's role is to get to know everyone, to understand where each person is at in their work with data science tools, and then provide some guidance in answering questions. All right, hopefully you can see this, but this is the overall timeline of what we're proposing here. We already started at the green on Slack by this pitching, on the project pitching channel, getting your ideas out there, getting this ideation started. And that's going to extend into the yellow, which is day one. We're doing more of that after lunch, and where we can start to actually form people into teams. The actual work occurs, throughout the end of today and then into days 2 through 4. Often a mad scramble in the morning of day 5 to get a little bit of a presentation together and really fun sort of sharing back out to everybody what we did during the week. And as I said, that blue zone there afterwards, that's the one that I am really intrigued by. Like, how do we take this work and build it over the long term? Any of you who do work with ISAT today, you may know about the IcePix library, the shared community library. That again came out of one of these projects. Pitching, we're going to be doing that right after I finish up here. So we invite everyone to pitch an idea. It's already been great pitches on Slack. Not all pitches will evolve into a project that goes forward, and this is fine. It's just part of that process. We're here to help guide you in scoping that and getting people to understand a little bit more about your idea and maybe get connected to forming a team with you. We'd like to have teams around 5 to 7, 8, up to 10 maximum, but if you get too large, it's a little bit hard to manage, getting the team dynamics to work out well. If it's too small, you're not going to get that experience of what it is to work in a team. So go ahead and continue pitching on that channel if you still have some ideas that you'd like to share. We'll talk a lot more about the scope as we go along, but I said this earlier, and one thing that you can do is simply use the time, dive more deeply into the content that we're sharing in the tutorials. So you just learned a bit about the database. Maybe you want to spend most of the week getting really proficient with that. Again, it's a great use of your time. Everything from exploring data sets, working with a specific data science tool like machine learning, for example, would be a great use of time. Or maybe you want to just get a little more experience in the practice of open science and what it means to push some code, GitHub, and have someone else work on it. And getting that process down is another great use of time. The last thing I'm going to say before I hand it over to Charlie is, we're aware that we're inviting you to pitch your boldest ideas here. And at the same time, we're in this really competitive academic environment. Let's be mindful of that. And if we are pitching something that maybe is an idea that we hope to into a paper, it's really important to have conversations about that with your team early. Maybe think about what would it look like if this did evolve into something? How would we get the proper attribution to folks accordingly? So I think we're on to the slide. There we go.
Yeah. I just wanted to say a little bit about when you're thinking about pitching your projects. Scoping of the project is important, and it's a bit of an art form. Unless you have led projects perhaps weeks before and have a little bit of experience, you may not have quite a feeling for how to define a project in which you can get it done in a week. And part of it is you won't know until you start meeting with your team, find out what skills they have and what tasks are going to be involved. So just giving you a little bit of heads up as some of you, I think, are still planning on pitching ideas that haven't been discussed in Slack yet, is thinking about, we got feedback from some of the prior project leaders. One of the things that came up was, if you have a well-defined project where the tasks are easy to define, we can get it done in a week, then it's a lot easier to manage for yourself. It's a lot easier for people to know what tasks are going to be involved, what you're going to work on, just distribute the work, right? But on the other hand, a lot of you are coming with work, your personal research and work, and so you're going to want to do maybe on a project involving that, right? Not quite sure we can get it done in a week. It may continue it life on, and you're hoping that people will continue to work on it after the half week, right? But just a little heads up, if you go for that, and we're not saying you shouldn't, but just know that people have reported when they go that route that they are spending the majority of their time managing, explaining things to the other team members and managing that versus doing hacking yourself. So there's no right answer. Just know, there's a lot of things to balance when you're determining scoping. So think about this thing, thinking about your project, and also when you're thinking about projects you're going to work on. I think we are ready to start moving into. Well, we want to give people time. There's some, I think you've identified some people, and maybe even yourself, that still need to add their projects to the document. So in the project 15 Slack channel, Anthony has pinned to the top the document. we're gonna give you like 5 minutes. If you have a project idea and you have not put it in the document yet, we're gonna give you 5 minutes to do that. After that, we're gonna do a project pitch where you'll have 2 minutes to pitch your idea, in front of everyone here. So that before lunch, everyone will get a chance to listen to all the projects, what's kind of involved, and then you get to go, hey, I want to work on that. There's actually 3 I want to work on that are going to decide. You have lunch to decide that.
So we'll ask even the folks who've already pitched on the project pitching channel to come up here in person as well. So you may want to just start organizing your thoughts. It'll be a 2-minute pitch. I'll make sure that you have that link here one more time. Oh. Thanks.
They can just pass this
Yeah.
between them, right?
That one's not working now.
Oh, it's not, okay.
Why?
And then Joe, after they have time to do that, you and Joe will do a demo.
Yeah, that's the next thing, we do,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah, totally. So I'm going to add a few more rows to that table at the top of the document because I see we're running out. My thinking on this is to put the basic idea in that first table. And then you scroll down the document, we have the more detailed content. take 2 more minutes. The chance to pitch in the document, and then we can do our 2-minute pitches and then go to lunch. I have 7 projects currently listed in the table. Pretty well. Hey, can I have your attention down, please? Okay, we've got 1 more. Okay, you begin. Okay. I'm gonna invite Joe back up to the stage. And we're gonna do a sample pitch. Getting these pitches done quickly is crucial for us to get to lunch. All right, so the pitch is our chance to, we're on an elevator, Joe's gonna tell me enough information so that I want to get on his project by the end of the elevator ride. Although 2 minutes is a long elevator ride. The idea is, what do you want to explore? What's the problem? Really succinctly, maybe what would you like to learn over the course of the week? What tools or data sets maybe have been used? People have been doing this in a certain way. It'd be so great if we did it with this set of tools. It's fun. It doesn't have to be right away, but giving yourself a hashtag. Hot Pow is one of them from last year. That's the only one I can remember. It's some way of identifying in a fun way your topic, and we'll use that as your Slack channel handle. Did you prepare your hashtag? Okay. I'm going to set the time.
Okay, just a heads up, this is not the project list to say be ready for projects. So I'm jumping. All right, so basically my idea is, I'm the DM different in person. I love lighter data sets. I love this and all the Snowflake data we have. So my idea, and I also say I'm an immediate Python person. My idea would be I want to learn how to access the SnowEx database. I want to compare the lighter flights and how they figure out the Snowflake measurements. So basically, the learning skills I want to do is getting familiar with the SnowEx database. I also want to get myself better in the Python skills and how to visualize those things. Like I know first was data exploration. And I want to do it in a collaborative environment, so I want to also learn a little more how to use the GitHub thing to share my project and with other team members. So basically, this opened up the level for everyone, like you always want to do. Get familiar with technology, explore the database, get more familiar with SQL, especially lighter data sets, DMN, inferencing. Also, kind of get into the error analysis. Maybe to say, look, do we have enough data for the snow pit? That we can say it was a steep slope, north-facing slope, kind of aspect information you have as well, and how does the lighter net come together? So hashtag would be lighter tell. so and that's what. Less than a minute.
So, like invite all project leads, just come on up here, come up to the front of the room. It's a little bit easier than walking around having the mic. Whatever order makes sense. We'll go through our pitches, should take us under 15 minutes, I hope, and then we'll head off to lunch. So, yeah.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Melissa Regin. So I work at NASA Goddard at the University of Maryland, and I am really coming at this from the snow modeling side. So if you run any sort of snow model, you get all this gridded output and you need to evaluate it somehow. I think anyone who's done this knows it can be a real pain to find the data, download the data, process it yourself. So wouldn't it be great if we could have a tool that's already out there that can help us with our model evaluation. So my idea is I have some sample snow model output that we can start with and build a notebook and just pull in the data, the SQL database, pull in other various whatever observations that we think would be important to have in order to do this model evaluation. And ultimately, I think that this is a tool that if we can kind of extend this into the fall, develop this notebook and share it with some of my colleagues at NASA Goddard, because this is the tool that we need to have. Oh, I'm not creative. We'll come up with a hashtag together and we have fun group activity. So that's mine. Thanks.
Everyone, I'll go quick. My project is at the top of the list on the document. It's the swarm satellite transceiver idea. I don't think I'm going to keep going with that. If anyone else thinks it's interesting enough to pick up on, these are basically small widgets that will let you send kilobytes of data per day. I think total like a few hundred kilobytes per month, up or down via satellite network. So I didn't realize that SnowTel sites already talk to Iridium satellites or something. But anyway, if anyone else has other ground sensors that would work for this, I'm happy to lend them. Showed up on bringing them up so far, but yeah, I'll likely jump to another project.
And just added mine. It's forming in real time. But I do a lot of what Melissa was just talking about, and I model a lot of stuff, and we use station data to try to figure out if that model data is any good. And the question that almost always comes up at the table is, okay, well, if this station's low and this station's high, what do those mean to the model domain? You know, do we change this one so that it goes up or down? So what I'd like to do is look at stations near SnowEx data and look at how station data is correlated to SnowEx data, and hopefully draw some insights on how important stations are to the surrounding area. I think I want to call this hashtag spatial station, something like that.
Space station.
Space station. That's what we're going to go with. Space station. Thank you.
Sorry for stealing your thunder there, Mike. Great. So I'm Tate. This GPR and LiDAR fusion is kind of an idea that I've been working on since last summer. And I'm a matlabber, so I've done some of this work, and it is involving multiple data sets and integrating them, and that's challenging. Whether you're in different projections or different accuracies and things like this. So I feel like there's a good bit of synergy with Joe's idea, getting a grasp on this LiDAR data and using it in the database. And it seems like a lot of people are piling on. So there's going to be, I don't know, definitely a good emphasis on having to wrangle the LiDAR data, having to parse it out and find the pixels that you need to do all this comparison and evaluation. That's a pretty big computational step. So I'm curious to learn more about how Python tools can handle these big data sets and be able to search through them. And that's going to be key to integrating data sets and bringing in other information like vegetation types and canopy densities and things like this into this project as well. So people with skills and interests in that type of work, let's do it. Hashtag, I had a great one for space station, but I really don't have a hashtag right now, so we'll work on that.
Hello, my name is Jonas. I'm very new to all this. I thought more people would be pitching. But what I want to do is actually look at a very specific model, the DMRT model. That's a radiative transfer model. I don't know if some of you are familiar with that. This model needs some input parameters. And I was actually hoping to find a link between these input parameters and SnowEx snow pits that are available. And if we could find this link, it would be great to then make some kind of notebook that can, where we can like look at these, where we can do it in like a way that we can do it like not have to do it manually anymore, but then do it automatically, so that we can share this with the community. It's like basically the same idea as the model evaluation thing, but then specifically applied on one model. And if there's interest, you can for sure like contact me. I'm also new to the DMRT, so if someone has more expertise on that, feel free to contact me. I would love to talk to you. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm here at UW, and I work a lot with ISAT-2 data. And I went to a Western Snow Conference months ago, and then Zach Keskinen has a lot of experience using UAV SAR data. And so our idea is to try and combine ISAT-2, which gives you elevation data, which can then be used to get snow depth, to use that data to help constrain the phase shift of the SAR in SAR data. And then hopefully that once you establish that initial depth, then subsequent INSAR data can be used to update your snow depth information throughout the snow on season. So yeah, I guess there's multiple goals with this project. I mean, we're just trying to combine the instruments that we both work on. I think people from a lot of different backgrounds who work on this project. We'll be trying to use SnowEx database to get data for like ground observations to help validate what we're doing. People who are interested in ISAT-2 and also who are interested in INSAR data be interested. So yeah, we're looking for people to join, and we'd love to have you. Yeah, thanks.
Hello everyone, I'm Jian Kim from Yonsei University in South Korea. So I propose the snowmelt timing estimation. So snowmelt timing is critical for like hydrology, vegetation growth, and carbon cycle, climate change, for everything. So I was thinking that we have the snow depth data, and then we could estimate the uncertainty in the remote sensing based snowmelt timing, and then from all the various remote sensing data like MODIS and then also the SAR data. And once we have that uncertainty, we could also estimate the long-term trend of the snowmelt timing. So how those snowmelt timings could be changing over the time, and then what kind of factors like topography or elevation or slope or like the temperature, the microclimate variation over the site could affect the snowmelt timing long-term trend. So we could analyze that kind of fact. So that's what I was thinking so far. But of course, I'm open to anyone with any background. And for the name snow free, I guess, because snow is melted. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Bo Young with the NRTS Snow Survey. People know that as SnowTel. We actually have a unique opportunity right now. We're going to be putting together a RESTful API that should be replacing our current web service. I don't know if any of you have ever used our web service before. The web service is very hard to deal with, very not modern. I don't really see this as a full-blown project, but if we could maybe make like a breakout session for people that are interested in getting input into how we actually construct the JSON returns from this API, I think it could be super helpful to take lessons learned from, anyone who's ever tried to use our API. And what we're really trying to do is consolidate the methods to just a couple methods that can return everything you need based on flags. Obviously, having a REST API will allow people to access our data a lot quicker. It's not just Snowtel data. We actually warehouse data from USGS, Bureau of Reclamation, tons of different data sources. So yeah, anyone that's interested in kind of like literally giving input to how this thing's going to be constructed, this is a great time to do it, and here hopefully to do so. So if you want to just sign up for this one, and maybe like we'll do a breakout session. I'll talk to the admin people and see if that's all kosher, but sure it would be. I figure a couple hours, we could probably get a lot of the ideas on the table. And I would call it the API for yet another API.
Everyone, with great pictures. And what were we, oh, Charlie, we were gonna check in on Facilitator. Yes, thank you.
We're making this up as we go. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so Anthony earlier today mentioned the role of the project facilitator helper. That's someone that's just, I'm looking mainly towards the organization team. If you know that you're not going to be working on one of those projects, we could really use your help to help some of the project leaders. When we come back from lunch, we'll have like an hour activity where we are mainly starting to just sketch out the basics of the project. And it's going to be a lot of sticky note, like everybody writing ideas for tasks for that on sticky notes, just so we want a little help, a little support for the project leaders, especially those that are new to this. So if you're willing to volunteer for that role, and we'll teach you about it along with everybody else, just maybe let me know in the education team Slack channel. I'm looking for 3 to 4 additional volunteers for that. And then we should be back and sign up for a project and be back in an hour.
An hour, so that takes us to 1:20. Eli has another quick thing to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on what Carly just said, that this is really mainly for today, is the big thing, like, something like, something for this activity that goes, teaching would be.
So that facilitator role is really crucial for this opening scoping session that occurs this afternoon. If you didn't hear any ideas that really resonated with you, it's not too late. Come back after lunch, chat with us. We'll form a project based on what you'd like to work on. So let's think about it over lunch. Come back at 1:20. Your cards, if you don't have one, will be right at the front desk where Jenny is. And she'll also tell you where we're going, which is just over here, I believe. It's called Local Point. So cafeteria. Questions? Anna? Do we leave laptops? True, Steve. No. Thank you for asking, and we didn't think about that yet. It's not going to be locked. The question is whether one of our team is going to be here.
They're working outside or in here. There'll always be someone in the room, right?
I can really be sure that one of us administratively is here, including myself. So, sorry, this is all part of like, we're back in person and we have to think about all these things again. Why do you bring your stuff with you? Apologize.